first week of Steelers OTAs is now in the book. So today on Steelers Talk, I'm going to be breaking down my list of 10 winners and 5 losers from this week's first week of Steelers OTAs. So to this point, all right? So this is just the first week, obviously, guys. So, the people that are on the losers list, they can certainly move things around here throughout the rest of the offseason program. But I want to give you guys my thoughts on the guys that I think have impressed to this point, and then some of the guys that have maybe underwhelmed to this point in the offseason program. Before we get into my list today, make sure you go give me a follow on Twitter or X, whatever you guys want to call it. I'm at Jack_Sperry. I've been putting out OTA clips all this week. I'm going to do the same next week when the Steelers come back on Tuesday for OTA practices. So make sure you give me a follow at Jack_Sperry for more Steelers updates outside of this channel. So let's start with the first winner here on my list, which is going to be none other than Russell Wilson. And he really seemed to solidify himself as the guy at the quarterback position this week, in my opinion. Coming into the week, it's like, if he didn't play all that well and Justin Fields really balled out, then maybe there would be a little bit of controversy. But Russ looked really sharp, man. The spiral is super tight. He's got really good arm strength. He threw like a 50-yard bomb to Quez Watkins yesterday at practice. I mean, this guy still looks like a quarterback capable of playing at a top 15 level in the National Football League. And then the feeling around the building is that there's pretty much no chance that Justin Fields is going to have even a chance to start week 1. This is Russell Wilson's job here in Pittsburgh, and it seemed like this first week of OTAs really seemed to solidify that, so he was a big winner for me. Then we get to the other Wilson in this offense. Get used to hearing it, man. Wilson to Wilson. It's going to be a great combination this year. And Roman is somebody that has definitely impressed in the first week of practices. The rest of the wide receivers in that room talk glowingly about this guy, and he makes some really nice catches. I mean, look at this catch that he made on Wednesday, and he's really turning some heads with his ability to make these really difficult acrobatic catches. And he's not the biggest receiver in the world, guys, but something that I had on my notes during the draft process on him is that he's really good at plucking the ball out of the air with his hands. He's not reliant on catching it into his body. He can really go out there and make those acrobatic type catches. And then apparently the route running has been really impressive as well. Roman Wilson, I think, is starting to really establish himself in the Steelers wide receiver room. And speaking of wide receivers that are looking good, George Pickens looks like he's about to have just an incredible third season in the National Football League. He has put on weight this offseason, and he just looks like an absolute monster, all right? Not only has he gotten bigger, though, where he almost looks like Julio Jones out there a little bit with the muscular strength that he has added this offseason, but also I think he's quicker, man. The route running, there's just another level of get off of explosiveness with his routes this year, in my opinion. Where it was pretty good before, as we know, he took a lot of those slant routes to the house last year. But when you combine the added weight in just the overall menacing presence that he brings, and now he's adding a certain element of explosive route running, I think that he could be primed for an all-pro season this year, especially if Russell Wilson is as good as I think he's going to be this year. Now, predict it for me. Down there in the comments section, is GP going to be an all-pro in the National Football League this year? Give me a yes or no for today's pinned comment. YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, take advantage of that time, but give me a yes or no to the question, will George Pickens be an all-pro? Next up on my list here of winners, Pat Freiermuth, because he's just been super impressive. He's been playing at a bunch of different spots. Of course, they're playing him at tight end because that's where his true position is, but they're also playing him a little bit at slot wide receiver. They're going to be moving him around. They're going to be using him on shifts and all these different things to confuse defenses, keep them honest, and Arthur Smith is going to be using him in a bevy of different ways. He has him on slant routes. He has him on different kinds of stuff that you just didn't really see Pat do in the Matt Canada offense, and he has a very versatile role within this offense this year, and I think that he is going to play a little bit of slot wide receiver. He's got the movement abilities and the quickness and the hands and the receiving ability in general to play kind of a bigger slot wide receiver spot, and I'm definitely excited to see the way new offensive coordinator Arthur Smith uses him throughout this campaign, and he seems very excited about his new role in this new offense here in Pittsburgh. Now we'll shift over to the defensive winners here. And Joey Porter Jr., just like George Pickens, I think the number one guy in the perimeter on defense not only got bigger this offseason, but he is getting better in terms of his skill, in terms of his ability to not be as grabby as he was last year. Now, he was still locked down last year, don't get me wrong, but I just think that he's taking it to a whole nother level here in 2024, and he really showed his ability in the 7-on-7s and the 11-on-11 drills this week there in Pittsburgh. And I just think that, with the bigger frame, with the extra year of experience, the entire offseason to really hone his craft here, I think Joey Porter Jr. is really going to, if he hasn't already broken out as a legit number one cornerback, he's definitely going to be doing it in 2024. Then another corner that has really been a pleasant surprise here is Darius Rush, who has been one of the standouts here during Steelers OTAs to this point. He has a number of impressive pass breakups during the team periods this week, and he's showing off the athleticism, the length, the toughness, all the things that attracted the Steelers to him and what had them go out and trade for him last year is really starting to pay dividends for Darius Rush, who has obviously had a nice offseason here. And, we as Steelers fans, we have been hoping that either Corey Trice Jr. or Darius Rush was really going to take a step up this offseason. And based on what we've seen thus far from Darius Rush, it seems like he may be the guy to actually do it. Then speaking of young corners that are really showing out during the team periods here, Beanie Bishop Jr., the undrafted free agent out of West Virginia, he's been playing mostly with the twos, but he's looked extremely impressive during those periods. And I actually think he's been the most impressive slot cornerback option on the Steelers roster throughout the first week of OTAs. He has multiple pass breakups. He's making plays all over the place. He's extremely physical. I just think he plays like a Pittsburgh Steeler, and he plays the way that Mike Tomlin wants that nickel defender to play. So I think he's had a really impressive start, and hopefully he can continue on that positive momentum that he's taken from rookie minicamp to the first week of OTAs, and hopefully that momentum just continues to build for Beanie Bishop Jr. And then we get to the middle of the defense here. Patrick Queen, of course, the second-team All-Pro the Steelers signed this offseason, has looked the part of every single thing that has come in, all the hype that is coming into this year for Patrick Queen. This guy looks like an absolute menace out there. He is one of the most athletic inside linebackers in football today. He can play the pass. He can play the run. He's going to be just an incredible player for this defense, man. I can't wait to see him in action. And by the way, the number 6 on a linebacker in a Pittsburgh Steelers uniform, kind of like it. All right, and then we get to Peyton Wilson, who has been shadowing Patrick Queen throughout this process here during the offseason. Peyton Wilson said during the draft process that he was going to find the best available inside linebacker on his new team, and he was going to essentially follow them around and copy their entire regimen. And that's what he's doing with Patrick Queen right now. He is not leaving his side. He's waking up at the same time. He's going to bed at the same time. He has the same exact schedule when he's in the building. All I have to say, watching him in practice with his ability to already understand and comprehend the roles that he has to play in this Steelers defense and how he plays it to perfection, mixed with some really nice athleticism and instincts. And all I'm going to say, man, is if he stays healthy this year and throughout his career, watch out, because I think we have a star inside linebacker on our hands, and you got him at the end of the third round. Then my final winner this week was Jeremiah Moon, the edge rusher. Now, as we know, the Steelers have not added Marcus Golden, and, they're thinking about Bud Dupree, bringing him back, but maybe Jeremiah Moon is that fourth edge rusher that they're feeling like they can work with, because Jeremiah Moon is an athletic freak, people. He is working with guys that are legit athletic freaks, like superstar players, like TJ Watt, a star player, and Alex Highsmith, and his athleticism definitely jumps off the page even while working with those types of players, which is definitely a testament to his athleticism, his potential, all these different things. And I thought that he looked good over this first week of practice at OTAs. And, I'd still say if I were Omar Khan, the Steelers GM, I would still want to bring back Marcus Golden. He had a really good season for the Pittsburgh Steelers last year. He knows this defense. God forbid if there's an injury to TJ Watt or Alex Highsmith, I'd probably trust Marcus Golden more than Jeremiah Moon at this point in time. And, of course, you have Nick Herbig in that rotational pass rusher role. But at the end of the day, man, I still think the Steelers could use another edge rusher, and I would like it to be Marcus Golden. Now, coming up here on Steelers Talk, my list of OTA losers, at least to this point. But before we get into it, Let's have a word from our sponsor here at Fanatics. Go to chatsports.com/Russ. If you want a brand new Russell Wilson Steelers jersey in your closet today, and you want an opportunity to help out the channel, if you use our link, chatsports.com/Russ, I'll put that in the comments and description. Use that link and you make a purchase here. Fanatics is going to give us a portion of the proceeds, so that really does help out the channel, guys. Really do appreciate all of your guys' support. So if you want to help the channel out and you want to get a Russell Wilson jersey, here's your opportunity to do so. Go to chatsports.com/Russ to get this jersey in your closet today. Now, before I get into my 5 losers, all right, this is not the portion of the show that I like to do. Okay, I don't like to say a player had a tough week or to report that or anything like that. And by the way, me putting them on this list here doesn't mean I think they're a bad player or that they won't get better throughout this process. But, you know, we like to do winners and losers here at Chat Sports, and we have to put some people on the losers list, and there are some people that did underwhelm at practice this week. But I will say, even though Justin Fields is the first name on my list, he is not somebody that underwhelmed at practice this week. So you might be asking yourselves, Jack, why do you have Justin Fields on the losers list this week? I mean, at the end of the day, man, Russell Wilson had a great week. And if you have a great week, if you're Russell Wilson, that can only mean bad things if your name is Justin Fields. Now, I will say, Fields has looked pretty darn good. He switched up the his footwork a little bit here. The Steelers are trying to make him as comfortable as possible. He's made some nice plays as the number 2 during team periods. He's made some nice throws down the field. And overall, I think he's looked pretty darn good. But the reason why he's a loser, like I said, is because multiple reports have come out this week that Russell Wilson's the guy here. I think his play on the field this week cemented that. And I think Justin Fields was really hoping that this week was going to cement himself as a potential candidate to be the starting quarterback this year. And I just don't think that really happened for him. I think he has been almost cemented as the backup quarterback to this point. And even though I think that he looked pretty darn good in practice this week, and if Russell Wilson goes down, God forbid, with an injury, I would be very excited to see Justin Fields play for the Pittsburgh Steelers this year. But at this point, it does seem pretty likely that Russell Wilson is solidified as the starting quarterback. Then we'll go to Troy Fautanu, the first-round rookie. And, you know, I will say off the bat here, I'm not too worried about Troy. I think he's eventually going to get there. But he even said himself this week, it was a rough week for him, man. The speed of the game, the speed of the rushers that he has to go up against, it's a different game than in the Pac-12, all right? It's different than college football. And he needs to get used to that. And to this point, he hasn't made that adjustment. And it was a rough week for the first-round rookie out of Washington. But I think he's going to be just fine. He has all the athleticism in the world. He plays with great intelligence and technique. And I absolutely think but at some point this season, he's going to be named one of the starting offensive tackles for this football team. And he's going to be either the starting left tackle or right tackle for this team for the next 10 to 15 years. I think that highly of him. I think he's that good of a player. But in terms of this week, it was a rough one for him, so he makes my losers list. Then we'll go to Corey Trice Jr. On the losers list. And, you know, this is kind of twofold because, you know, Darius Rush had such a good week and, you know, he impressed. And then Corey is not all the way back from injury, and you can tell. Okay, he has that really thick, knee brace on there, and it was so good to see him back out there. You know, he was smiling, and you know he was having so much fun. That's great for him, man. But you know, obviously, couldn't really participate in everything. And when he was able to participate, you could tell he's not 100% back from that ACL injury he suffered last year during training camp. Now, it doesn't mean he won't get there eventually, and I hope that he can get to a place here where he gets that long speed back and he can really impress before the season starts and he can carve out a role for himself. All right, but at this point in his journey here, in his recovery process, I wouldn't say he's 100% back yet. And when you pair that with Darius Rush playing so well this week, I think he does qualify as a loser in my book for this week. Then we'll go to Josiah Scott, who is currently getting the first crack at first-team reps at slot cornerback. All right, but like I said earlier, I thought Beanie Bishop Jr. was more impressive throughout the week. He had more splash plays during the team periods. And, you know, I thought Scott, you know, was relatively lackluster in terms of his coverage. He's a really good run defender. That's the one thing that he's known for. But I just didn't think he had the most impressive week out there. And I thought Beanie Bishop Jr., an undrafted free agent, kind of showed him up a little bit. And I thought that he played a little bit better. So don't get it twisted, man. This is a legit competition for starting slot corner right now. And Beanie Bishop Jr. Has really earned that right to this point. So now let me know down there in the comments section, which cornerback would you rather have as your starting slot corner for week 1? Type JS for Josiah Scott or type BB for Beanie Bishop Jr. Let me know your thoughts down there in the comments. Then the final name on my losers list this week is Trenton Thompson. Now, here's the thing with Thompson. I love this player, okay? In terms of, backup depth safeties in the National Football League, I think Thompson's one of the best, okay? He came in last year when the Steelers were completely destroyed with injuries at the safety position, and he played some pretty darn good football. Now, he got hurt, and he still hasn't come back, and he isn't all the way back, all right? He pretty much didn't have an off season. And you can kind of see that on the field. He's still kind of getting his sea legs back here, and I think he's going to get back eventually. He's going to make this team. He's going to be a very valuable special teams player and a backup option at safety. But in terms of the first week of practice, I thought it was a little bit lackluster for him, but that's to be expected since he is coming off that injury so quickly here. So that'll be it for today's show, guys. I appreciate every single one of you guys that made it to the end of the program. Again, if you want more Steelers content from me outside of this YouTube channel, you can find me at Jack_Sperry on X. Or if you want more just general NFL content, you can find me on IG at sparedog.football. Make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Once again, I appreciate all of your guys' support. And until next time, here we go, Steelers.